What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Hope you're all doing well today. Now, we're going to do something a little bit different today. This is not your usual track walk. This isn't like a full-on, I guess, tips video as such. But after yesterday's video where I helped out a little bit and just kind of explained different obstacles in MX bikes, and that I personally think Supercross is the easier discipline between indoors and outdoors. And the sole reason being is once you've learned how to do a Supercross track, you can do all Supercross tracks. You know, they all kind of follow the same scaling if they're made by the same track creator, whereas outdoors, even if it's the same person making each outdoors round, every track is different. You know, they've all got their different elevation, they've got different jump faces, all the turns are different angles, all the ruts are different, all the bumps are different, and people struggle in Supercross quite a lot. And I can understand that for people with only a couple of hundred hours, but if you're getting to like the 500 plus mark, I think Supercross should be fairly easy to learn, as long as you can actually just get around the track in general. So what I want to show you in this video is Supercross is a hell of a lot easier than I think people make it out to be. I think people try and do way too much when they're playing Supercross tracks. Like, they'll try to sit in the absolute world of light, scrub the life out of everything, and just end up wadding themselves constantly. So this is more so to show you how much you can do whilst also doing the bare minimum. Now, there is always going to be levels to this. You're always going to get the people that are absolutely cracked that will be a couple seconds quicker, even taking exactly the same lines as you. That's just how it is. People will find time even when it feels like there's no time to gain, just by being a little bit 1 or 2 mile an hour quicker in a corner, just scrubbing that little extra bit lower around the track as well. But I just kind of wanted to... It's a little bit show-offy, I will admit. I'll throw it out there. But it's something that I discovered while doing a one-on-one coaching session the other day, and I just kind of want to show you what you can do with not very much. So what we're going to do right here, I'm going to go in first person first of all, but you'll also notice not only do I have my controller overlay on the bottom left, I also have my inputs. So you can see my throttle, you can see my brake. I've got joint brakes, which is why they both go at the same time. And then I've got my turn in left and right. And you can't see rider lean there at all for some reason, but this is just left stick. So what we're going to do, I'm not going to sit down. I'm going to stay stood up the entire time. I'm not going to use my rider lean at all, forward or backward, side or side, because I think a lot of people overdo it in that regard as well. I'm just going to stay in the centre of the bike. I am going to stand up everywhere. I am going to accelerate and brake. That is it. And change gear, of course. But this is just to show you how much you can do with very little inputs, as long as you are being smooth and you're thinking about what you're doing. Because being smooth in Supercross is the biggest thing, to be completely honest. So we'll go from here. We're just going to stay stood up. I'm only going to be turning on the left stick. There's going to be no rider leaning at all. This is all just to do with throttle and brake control. And then turning smoothly. Got to roll on the throttle nice and gently. As long as you enter whoop sections correctly as well, you really don't have to lean much at all. Like, that dragon's back is fine. You can use the acceleration of the bike just to pop the front wheel up and over rollers like that. You can be nice and smooth around your flat corners without overdoing it. And if I just go through whoops, I'm just holding down the right trigger right now. You can see on that overlay I'm doing nothing else. Just letting the bike do its thing underneath me, not trying to fight it at all. Just being very gentle, like hop on, hop off, little brake tap in the air to try and pitch the front end back down to give you a little bit extra distance. I'm just in first gear. I'm not even turning, just throttle, accelerating through the rhythms. And it's just all about being smooth. Even little triples like this, you can just accelerate. Step on, little blip of the throttle, step off, triple again. Oh, come a little bit short there, but I didn't fight it. I just kind of let the bike sort itself out on the landing. We'll step on again, step off, triple. You can do so much, and unless you're on a track that has, like, let's say some disgusting quads. Let's say the very newest DDC round 7 at Cincinnati. There's some big boy quads on that track coming out of corners. In those situations, yes, you do need to like sit down in the corner on a 450, that is. 250s are a bit different. You do need to sit down, really try and add a lot of body English to seat bounce, to jump as hard as you can do. But for the most part, to just get around a Supercross track, I think is way easier than people make it out to be. I do think people try doing too much. They try fighting the bike all the time rather than letting the bike do its thing underneath you. If you do get a little bit sketchy sometimes, like if you're coming up short on a jump, or maybe you're kicking side to side through the whoops, a lot of people will try counteracting it. Maybe if your back end kicks out to the right, you'll try and then steer to the right to bring it back in line, so to speak, whereas you don't have to do that. A lot of time, just letting go of the controller altogether, or just staying accelerating and nothing else, no turning or leaning at all, the bike will come back straight. The game is designed in a way to help you. It is in the simplest way possible. We've got all these like hidden assists and virtual rider mechanics behind the scenes that kind of want the bike to do a certain thing, which is why if you've ever had it where maybe you try and stretch out a jump really far and you're super front wheel high, you might get a bug every now and then where it will freak out and then make you do a random 360. It's the same thing that when you're doing a backflip or a 360, for example, when you get to a certain point of the rotation, it will kind of like fling you the rest of the way around automatically because the bike wants to go forwards. It doesn't want to be kicking all over the place. And you can just see with just very gentle, smooth movements, you can get a lot out of it. And it can be very rewarding as well. And to be fair, if you learn tracks and you learn the game in a smooth manner, obviously your qualifying pace isn't going to be blistering, insane out this world, but your consistency will be really good. And if you've got consistent, clean laps, that's the kind of foundation that you need to then start building upon that and then gaining those half a seconds to a second a lap. And you can afford to do so because you've got that really good, I guess, banker. You've got that really good base that you can build upon just from being a smooth and, let's say, careful rider. You know how much throttle to give in certain situations, you know where the limit is for sliding out in corners. You haven't got to add all these extra mechanics to it. And one thing that I advocate quite a lot when I do my one-on-one coaching sessions is, as a good general rule of thumb, if you can do as little as possible while still getting around the corner or getting around the track or get over a jump, whatever it may be, if you can do as little inputs as possible on your bike, you're going to have a much more controlled and, fun isn't the right word, but an easier experience. You just don't want to be constantly fighting and making the bike do things. It's like if we're going around corners, someone commented on my Cincinnati stream saying they never noticed before, but like how little we brake in Supercross. And that's just because if you're going into a corner, we're going into these corners with a lot of speed, like these bolt-ons. You don't want to be leaning into a corner and going from standing up to sitting down and putting a lot of pressure on the front end from braking all at the same time. So a lot of time we do end up just maybe changing down a gear, maybe two, to get a little bit of engine braking involved in there. And then we'll sit down super early so the bike's all nice and settled before we get into the depth of the corner. And then we'll just start gently rolling on the throttle again and just trying to be as smooth as you can do on the steering. And it's just asking as little as you can from the front end. You see, I've just followed the entirety of that corner there all the way around. Just little blips of the throttle to get up and over these jumps. Now, the exact method that you're seeing me doing right now, where I'm just riding around the track, not really doing much at all, is a hell of a lot easier to do on a 450 than a 250. Because we've got that bottom end, that torque just to be like, whoop, and then just triple out of a corner. On a 250, you do have to be a little bit more aggressive. It is worth me saying that. But the same methods still apply. You don't have to overwork the bike too much. You see me come up a little bit short there. I'm not leaning forwards or leaning backwards or banging it on the limiter to try and save it at all. I'm just letting the bike do its thing underneath me, doing its dance, and then once you're feeling confident, you can put a little bit more body English into it. You can maybe try and scrub and stay a little bit lower through these rhythms. I've just had maybe 4 or so really clean laps. I know my timings, I know how far I can jump after each bit, I know where to find the traction in the corners, so now maybe if I start sitting down I can turn a little bit tighter while still going a little bit faster. I'm not trying to turn into prime JS7, I'm not trying to turn into prime Bubba when I'm scrubbing over some of these jumps, but just a tiny little bar turn at the top of it is all you need, really. A little emphasise, getting up and over that single, just that tiny little bar turn. See, I stay so much lower just from sitting down at the top of a jump than I do from trying to scrub the life out of it, landing sideways, getting sketchy into a corner. A little bit again, just sit down, right at the top of it, sit down, twist the bars just a tiny bit, sit down at the top, step off, sit down at the top, turn the bars a bit there, stretch this out, jumped a bit far, sit down at the top, scrub, sit down at the top, scrub. It's all just linking everything together nice and smooth. So we've tripled in there, we can then quad it just by stretching it out a little bit more and add in these extra jumps here and there. So turning a triple into the quad is only possible when you know how to triple in the first place. Like, you have to downside that triple really nicely first to then be able to quad after it. Whereas if I hadn't have spent the time in being nice and smooth and gentle on the sticks, I probably would find it harder to hit that quad because I don't know exactly But I'm trying to go too fast. I'm trying to run before I can walk. Where it's so important to just learn the track before you try and go too fast into it. And I hope the video doesn't come across as condescending in a way, because it's not meant to. It's meant to really show you, I mean, if you do fit in this category and you find this helpful, then big W. I think people try and go way too fast, way too quickly. And if you're, obviously if you're at a low amount of hours as well, doing what I'm doing right here, where I'm just not doing much, I'm just getting around the track nice and smoothly, you might find that difficult to do. Which, if that is the case, don't even try tripling. Just double your way around the track and get smooth that way. So I'll do exactly the same here. I'm just going to double in, and then we're going to double again. Maybe I'm going to step on and then step off. And again, it's just baby steps. And then, oh, maybe I'll try and chuck in a little triple in there once I feel comfortable. Do 4 or 5 laps, just doubling your way around the track, getting comfortable doing that, and then you can turn those doubles into triples, and then maybe you can turn them triples into quads after a while as well. So it's a lot more, straightforward than I think people make it out to be. I have a 105.1 around here. I think the really quick lap times are getting down into like the 103 area, maybe higher 102s for some of the top boys. There's been so many DDC tracks, I'll be honest, I can't remember every track's lap times off the top of my head. So to have a 105 by doing the bare minimum and just getting around the track, I don't think it's too bad at all. So that just goes to show that once you've got that solid base, then, like I said, you can start maybe try and add a little bit of extra oomph. Maybe you can sit down in your corners, add some little bar turns to the top of the jumps to try and stay a little bit lower. Of course, not trying to throw it completely flat, not going pancake style, because you're probably going to end up landing sideways and then crashing and losing a hell of a lot more time than you would from just hitting it normally. But it's all about just being smooth on the throttle, just really gentle inputs. I can't emphasise that enough, especially on these most recent OEM bikes. You do have to kind of find the line, find the limit, and it's all about just being nice and smooth on the exit of the corners. You haven't got to keep the throttle on really quick the whole way around the track, but just really smooth. You see my throttle inputs at the bottom left, to be fair. It's not like I'm just going from 0, bang, right over to 100, because then you're just going to light the back end up. But you'll see as I come around this corner here, I'll get on the throttle about the halfway point. It'll start maybe 2/3, and then it'll just get more and more on the exit as your tyre starts increasing in traction. And it's just nice and smooth all the way around, nice and gentle inputs. I feel like a bit of a broken record saying the same thing here, but I want to really ingrain that into people's minds as smooth is fast at the end of the day. And then not only is smooth fast, smooth is also consistent. And if you can go an entire heat race or an entire main event being nice and consistent and not crashing, you're going to have much better results than somebody who's grinded out hot laps all week, and they might have a really good qualifying time, but then they keep crashing in the race. You're going to end up beating them. Someone in the last DDC stream as well said that they qualified in 24th place in 250s and finished in P7, I think it was, in the race. So there's a hell of a lot of a jump, and there is definitely 2 types of people. But there are 3 types of people. You've got the people that are just cracked regardless, so they'll run hot laps and run really good race pace and win. But then you've got people that maybe qualify top 10 but finish outside of the top 20 because they're faster for 1 lap than they are across the whole race. You would then get people that would qualify in 20th and finish top 10 because they're the opposite way around, where they don't have maybe that 1 race pace, but the lap time that they did do in qualifying, even if it's a second to a second and a half off the top boys, they can then repeat that over and over again. I feel like that's the category that I kind of find myself falling into these days, is better in race scenarios than in qualifying scenarios. But the races is where it matters, to be fair. You don't get points for qualifying. Maybe we should treat it like F1 maybe. The fastest lap in the actual race gets an extra point. That'll spice things up a little bit. Try and go for some mid-race heaters if you know you're not going to win the race, just to try and salvage some points there. That'd be quite cool. But yeah, hopefully this isn't coming across in condescending in any way. I just wanted to show you how much you can simplify Supercross and hopefully have that work to your favour and help you improve coming into the 2025 season. I know a lot of you are probably going to be competing in Supercross for the first time, probably not on the pro side of things, but more so on the AM side of things. I believe they are running an AM series, which is quite cool for the new guys. And just try and be smooth. That's all I ask for. At the end of the day, just be smooth. Once you've nice and smooth and controlled as well, then you probably won't be so chaotic to be around on the track either. Because some people are just kind of scrubbing far left to far right across the track, trying to save these nanoseconds, like kind of cross-jumping everybody, end up taking people out without intending to. Whereas if you're just doing the basics, and you're doing it well, and you're maybe just, if you are scrubbing, you're just sitting down at the top of the jump and doing the tiny little bar turns, you're not jumping far left to far right, then you're going to be a much safer rider to be around, and people can like you a lot more as well. So I hope this has been helpful. If it has, please do drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new, all of that lovely stuff. I hope you have a lovely rest of the day, whatever you're up to. I will catch you all in the next video. Peace.
Lynn's in the zone, never backing down. Riding MX bikes, he's the talk of the town. 2022 champ with a YouTube crown. His game is tight, no signs of slowing down. Late nights, bright lights, he's chasing that fame in the digital arena. Writing his name, she's a 10 out of 10. Supporting his lane, hairline might receive, but his passion's the same.